Hello and welcome to the Vision-Led Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Arin. I am a multi-passionate business owner in the wellness and healing space, and I am on a mission to remind you that your intuition is always guiding you to your divine purpose. You were born at this time for a very important reason, and the time is now to shine in your truth. So on the show, we talk about listening to your intuition, cultivating a successful mindset, next level leadership, and what I like to call conscious capitalism. If you are new here, welcome. You're in the right place if you are a visionary leader ready to up-level your health and live in line with your true calling. And welcome to season 3. This is the first episode of season 3. I took a break for a while. I had a lot of reorganizing to do, a lot of clarity work to do so that I could come back and serve you in the highest way. And I am here fully focused on my mission, which is to interview inspirational entrepreneurs who feel like they have a business that is going to change the world and it is divinely guided. Today on the show, I'm so excited for this guest. We're talking to Stacy Reed. Stacy is obsessed with elevating brands to new levels with strategic marketing. Stacy has generated over 150 million running paid social advertising campaigns at Zappos for some of the largest shoe and apparel brands in the world. She uses her 11 plus years of digital marketing experience to elevate brands to 7 figures with Facebook ads as the CEO of her consulting agency, Stacy Zeal and Company. When she isn't speaking or consulting, she is practicing yoga, inspiring others to live their best lives out loud. Stacy, I'm so happy you're here.
Thanks. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm definitely selfishly excited to jump in and pick your brain because I'm launching my first course this month. And although I dabbled with Facebook ads, I definitely have not turned pro yet. So I can't wait to get in. And you know what? It makes me think we have a lot of entrepreneurs watching this video or listening to this podcast, and you can have the most amazing idea in the world, but if you don't know how to market that shit, nothing is gonna happen. Nothing is gonna happen. I mean, maybe a little bit, but we have to learn how to market. So I'm grateful for people like you bringing that to the world. It's so good. Okay, I have some icebreaker questions for you, and this is my favorite part. The first one is, what is your hype song? So when I'm going to a meeting or a networking event, or I'm feeling down, there are a couple of songs that I turn on the radio and it hypes me up. So what's yours?
Oh, that is such a great question. So anything Beyonce, usually. Her latest album just came out right when we were recording this. So everything on that album is my hype list. What I've been listening to lately from that is Break My Soul. That's the single that she has out. That's what I actually turned on right before we started. So I could just get my energy good to go. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, so much. Yeah, I was at a networking event last night and I turned on my Spotify and I was like, oh, new song from Beyonce, and it hyped me up. Yeah, she's the best at that. With Lizzo coming in close to second.
Yes, I have a playlist with her and Lizzo on it, and a bunch of their songs and some other people in there too. But yes, Lizzo is great at hype songs. About Damn Time. Yes, it is about damn time.
I was listening to Lizzo in an interview, and Beyonce was a big inspiration to her, and she's never met her or worked with her. And I'm like, when is the Beyonce Lizzo collaboration coming? We need that.
Yes, the girls need it, please. The girls need it.
Request put in. Okay, Beyonce hypes you up. What is your favorite snack?
My favorite snack is potato chips. Plain, salted. I love salty things. I'm more of a salty person than a sweet person.
Oh my gosh, I got to tell you a story. So I have a 2-year-old daughter. She loves potato chips too, so much that she calls them her chippies. Aww. And she will fall asleep with the bag tucked under her arm.
Haven't we all?
Right? Haven't we all? Potato chip girls, you're something special. Okay. This one is, if you could have a coffee chat with one person alive or someone who's already passed away, who would that be?
Oh, I would probably say Beyonce again. Because I just love not only her artistry, but she's about her business. Like she very much is like the visionary. I went to an event with when Beyonce's publicist was one of the speakers. And she talked about what creates star power. That was the theme of the session. It was I went to The Most by Rachel Rodgers, and she was there speaking. And when I say like she talked about how Beyonce, how having star power is more so being able to have the vision and then also being able to communicate the vision to the people and bring the people in around you who can bring the vision to life. That was something that was so impactful to me. So I would love to talk to her about how she stands in her power, how she stands in the role of being a leader on such a large stage, you know, because it's I feel like it's a little easier maybe to be a leader just maybe within your own house or within your own friend group, right? But you're on a stage like that. Like, how do you continue to pour into yourself so that you can continue to have the vision? And how does your vision just continue to expand? Like, because every album, everything she does, she just gets better. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I think about her a lot because she's definitely a like, what would Beyonce do kind of figure for me. And one thing that always comes to mind is she's really private.
Yeah.
You
I
know, and I
love
bet
that.
that helps.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I feel similar in a sense that like, I don't post a whole lot about my personal life, about like what I have going on in my personal life. But, and so I respect that, which I'm like, cause everybody doesn't need to have access to everything. And I think having some things that you hold sacred is really important, especially as a business owner.
Yeah, it's interesting because the world we're moving into, the young people are in this place where you have to put your personality out there alongside your business. And so there isn't, I think about Lizzo actually. She's so out there, which is awesome because I actually feel like I know her and I listen to her music and I feel connected. But what is that like for her?
Mm-hmm.
And what are our like kids who now, if you open a salon or a dog grooming business, you have to put yourself on social media.
Yeah.
And then how do you also protect your energies and stuff? I mean, maybe you'll touch on that a little bit in this talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Energy's big, I think, so I think we'll definitely probably get into it.
Yay. Okay. Let's dive in. So tell us a little bit about your business and how it came to be.
Yeah. So my business came to be, I guess it's been 11 years in the making. I'll say. When I graduated college, I decided to start freelancing because I needed experience, and all the jobs I wanted said you needed some experience, and I didn't have any outside of some internships. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm gonna go get me some experience. So I started helping people for free and started, charging very little to help people do all the marketing and help them to do their social media pages and all the stuff. Follow along that path of also being multi-passionate. And so I was a yoga teacher, I was a makeup artist, I was a cannabis podcaster. I'm someone who has a passion for something. Like if I have a passion for something, I can't think about anything else. Like I have to go all in, and I will go all in on anything that I am committed to. And so that also fast forward to really figuring out like, what do I want to do with my business? I started working at Zappos 4 years ago. And in that time, I was leading the paid social there. So I was running Facebook ads, TikTok ads, at that point when I started, we weren't on TikTok, but just recently when I left, we were on TikTok. But anyway, so all of that stuff, like, all the experience kind of has come together to really help me to be able to lean into my marketing zone of genius. And I feel like all the times, like I explore my passions, all that kind of stuff, it helped me to get here. It helped me to get to a place where I can bring my yoga into my business. I can bring my, self-care, all that kind of stuff into my business. And so how I help clients is I'm a marketing consultant. I help mainly e-commerce businesses or businesses that are looking to scale to really figure out like, how can we take our business to the next level? How do we go from 6 figures to 7 figures, 7 figures to 8 figures? And how do we do that in a way that doesn't burn us out? How do we do that in a way that doesn't burn our team out? We create marketing strategies that our teams can implement, but then we also figure out how we can scale things with Facebook ads. And so a lot of what I do is really bringing together different types of the fundamentals of marketing and figuring out like, how do we apply the fundamentals of marketing to all of these different initiatives that you have going on? A lot of times you'll have business owners that are like, oh, well, I just want to get on TikTok because everybody's on TikTok. But it's like, if your customers are not making their buying decisions on TikTok, why are you on TikTok? Why are you spending your energy and your time into specific channels where your people are not making buying decisions? And so I come in to really help CEOs who are great CEOs. They're great at their craft, but they are not marketers. They're great business owners. They can lead their team. They can rally people. They can get people to, buy from them, but they are not a marketer. And so they don't know how to build a marketing team. They don't know how to build a marketing strategy. They don't know how to build all the pieces you need to take your business to the next level marketing wise. And so that's where I come in and help them to do those things.
Awesome. Okay. I want to circle back to a question in a few minutes. So hopefully I'll remember about the marketing thing. But I'm really curious about the transition from corporate to now you're your own business owner. What happened there? Like, why did you do that? What was it about? How did you make that leap? Anything to share about that?
Great. Yeah, great question. And so I did kind of blaze over that, even though it was very significant. I feel like it felt like a little bit of a blur, maybe because it just happened. So I left in April of 2022. I worked at Zappos for 4 years. And I feel like my whole career, I've been wanting to leave corporate. Like I've been focused on my corporate career, but I've also had side hustles or different things. And I'm thinking like, oh, you know what, maybe, and I guess I should back up a little bit to just say, like, I come from a family and a background and a culture where it's like, you pick one thing, you do that thing for the rest of your life. And so for me, I thought because I had all these careers and different things in marketing, and I just was like, get to a point where I'm just like, this is boring. I don't want to do this anymore. Or I didn't have jobs that were really like pulling the best out of me. So I thought it had to be marketing. I thought that it was the career of marketing. And so I was trying to explore all these different passions, figuring out what it is that's going to take me out of corporate. And so fast forward to April, well, I guess last year is when I started to make that decision that I was ready to leave Zappos, that I was like, I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to step it on my own. I had these moments in my life where I asked myself, like, how do I want my life to look? And at that point, my life looked like working all day, side hustling around my job, not having a personal life, feeling like I was glued to my desk, even though I was working at home, always having meetings, always feeling stressed and overwhelmed, and not feeling like even fighting for a raise was a fight for a company that's making all that money. Seeing your abilities really just not be fully fostered, but having bright moments and lots of great things and amazing environment. So I loved working there. But I got to a point where I was just like, what do I want my life to look like? And so I decided that it was time, that now is the time to fly on my own. Every other time that I've wanted to was preparing me for that moment, or this moment that I'm in now. And so you can't rush it. I wanted to rush it, but I couldn't rush it. The universe was working on the timeline that it was working on anyway. And so once I decided and started to really figure out, like, how do I build a business to a point where I can replace my income, where I can leave comfortably, I put a plan in place, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't even fully follow the plan because I got to a point in this year where my business was growing. I was doing all the things. And I got to a point where it was like, it's either going to be Zappos or it's going to be my business, because I cannot do both. I was losing my mind trying to do both. My business was growing. Work at Zappos was always growing. It's never not growing. And I had to make a decision, even though my plan wasn't fully executed. I didn't hit the savings goal that I wanted to have, but I had to decide, am I going to leap and bet on myself, or am I going to really recommit myself to Zappos? And I chose to bet on myself. I chose to take that leap. And I definitely don't regret it. It's been up and down. It's been a lot of, figuring things out. I've also gone through a pivot in my business since that beginning point. So it's been a lot of shifting and figuring things out, but it really feels like I made the right decision. It feels like I'm on the right path, and it feels freeing in a way. And it feels really good to have space in my life. Now I actually have space. Like yesterday, I went to have lunch with my parents and my family, just in the middle of the day because my mom was off. Right. And so, or like I'll meet my girlfriends for brunch, or like, a midday lunch or something, or a work session somewhere at a hotel, and all those kinds of things. So it's like having the space is beautiful, and having more energy now is beautiful. And I was so burnt out from Zappos that my energy also was so low after I left. all I wanted to do was sleep. But it's like, now I can't, now this is the time I can't sleep all the time, right? Like, even though I couldn't before, but like, this is the time you actually have to, figure your work and all the things that you're doing are more so affecting your income now, right? Like, I didn't have my, biweekly paycheck. I remember I got that last paycheck, and I was like, okay, 2 weeks from now, you're not about to have a paycheck that's coming on that Thursday, right? Like, now you got to figure it out. But I was so tired from being in such a high stress environment for so long, that I really felt like that my energy was just needed to be replenished. And now I finally feel like I'm coming out of a bit of a fog, in that whole leaving and transitioning and figuring out a new schedule and figuring out ways to actually be productive, even though I was tired, was definitely a challenge.
Well, congratulations. I mean, it's a paradigm shift to jump from corporate to now you own your own business. And it's like, give yourself a huge amount of gratitude and congratulations. And
Thank you.
I know there's people listening who are maybe having a similar little dream, hope, maybe they're already in the process. And just as someone who is maybe a few steps ahead of the next person, what's your big piece of advice? If there's someone listening right now who's working a job, a job, and they have a dream to start their own business, they're starting to make that plan, what would you give them as a little like, hey, watch out for this or do this?
Yeah, I would definitely say trust your vision and trust your vision to evolve over time. And it's okay to evolve with it. And I mean that in a sense that, like, I was running a Facebook ad agency when I left. And that was a natural extension of what I was doing at Zappos. Like, I'm very comfortable building ads, running ads, doing the strategy, all the things. And so I naturally just kind of started a business doing that. And when I had the space to figure out, like, is this what I am being called to do? I felt like I just kept feeling like these last few months, I've been called to do something bigger. I've been called to have a bigger impact. And it's come with a lot of fear of like, well, I got to pay my rent. I got to pay my bills. I got to do all the things. This Facebook ad agency, I'm getting clients and all that stuff. But then once I decided to really fully step into this calling that I feel that I'm having, the universe really started to move. And like, I literally mysteriously lost, like, one way or the other, lost or let go of all of my Facebook ad clients within like a month. Once I decided I'm going to be a speaker, I'm going to be a workshop leader, I'm going to get on stages and teach CEOs how to lead their marketing, because it's really just a lack of know-how. It's not a lack of skill. It's really just a lack of understanding, like, what is all the strategy that goes into marketing. And because I've been able to learn, and I'm one of my top 5 Clifton strengths is learning. And I've learned a lot over years, and I've always been someone who's leaned into learning things. And so when I decided, the universe started to move for me. And so I had to really trust that this new vision, and still trust, right? Because it's still like in the back of my head, like, are you sure you don't want to run a Facebook ad agency? Because there are a lot of people that you could just go and just reach out to them and you could probably get some clients from this. But I have to trust that my life is evolving in such a way that it's supposed to evolve. And so getting in alignment, surrendering to the journey, and still showing up even when you don't feel like things are working, is one of the lessons I've had to take away. And so that's the advice I would offer to someone, is that trust your vision, trust that it's going to evolve, trust that where you're starting now is definitely not where you're going to be 6 months from now or a year from now. But lean into that. And it's okay for things to pivot. It's okay for things to change. And things will always be changing. Like, everything will always be in motion, or everything will always be changing in some capacity. And so really I had to trust that. I really had to trust it, even though the money wasn't in the bank account, that the efforts that I was doing were coming, and then all that stuff was coming. I had to really believe in abundance, had to really get out of that scarcity mindset of like, no, if I pay this coach, then, I got to really figure out how I'm going to pay how to pay this or how to pay that, but really understanding that, like, everything is going to evolve, everything's going to shift, everything's going to change, but you really have to be able to trust yourself to get through it.
So good. I love that you brought up Clifton strengths. I'm a big strengths person, and you kind of made me realize something about myself, which is futuristic is my number 1 strength. So I can see like I can see how it's all going to happen.
I love that.
Then I have to like dial myself back, because I can't be perfect and I have to build the foundation before I can build the watchtower. And it's so good that I finally learned that about myself. And I think that's really good advice that you're giving, which is like, go take the first step. And maybe right now what you're building is the foundation for what you're ultimately going to be called to. But you have to build that foundation. You need that there first. Clifton's strengths are so awesome. I'm going to put that in the show notes because anyone who is an entrepreneur should find out their strengths and find out their team's strengths. I even use it in my marriage. It's so helpful and such good stuff.
I love that. I love that. And I completely agree. I think when I took a strengths test, when I took the Clifton strengths test and kind of went through all of the, like my top 10 and what that means and stuff like that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so right. Like, and it's not even about things that you are strong or weak in is what I try to explain to people about it. It's more so like, what do you bring the most energy to? And for me, 4 of my top 5 are in relationship building. None of my strengths are execution strengths. They are very low on my list. Like I have relationship building as my top. I have strategic thinking in there a few places. And I had to realize that like my sister, who was also my assistant, she has a lot of execution strengths. She is an executor. My sister is like, my sister's getting married this year. She had a PowerPoint for the bridesmaids for a meeting we had. And that's my sister's organized, like it was fully made out and everything. Me, I showed up to the bridesmaid meeting as a maid of honor, just like, all right, y'all, this is what we're gonna do. This is the vision. And so understanding how you work as a CEO is powerful because now I can understand like, yeah, I can do the relationship building. I can get on the coffee chats with people. I can do the podcast interviews. I can build all the referral sources. I can do that, but at the same time, it's like, if I need this email to go out, I need to make sure that Nicole gets it. Like I need to write it and send it to her because I'm not going to be the one that schedules it and gets it to go out, And so it's so important.
Yeah, you're bringing up such a good point about strengths, which it's like, instead of going like, oh, I'm not good at, so what do I have really low? I have input really low. So I hate details. Like I don't want to know about the details. I am a dominant influencer. So I just want to be out there inspiring people. So I also don't have relationship in my top. So I just want to be on stages. I just want to be doing podcasts. So I often will have people in my life who research the details for me. And then they come to me with 2 options. So it's like, as a business owner, surround yourself with the right team. Like you having your sister high executing is so perfect and so wise. The strengths are so fun. I've done a couple of podcasts on the strengths. My mother-in-law is actually a strengths coach. Nice. And I just dig really deep into it. So it's fun to go on that tangent. Let's bring it back to marketing. I am curious, as a business owner, how would a business owner know that it is time for them to get some help with marketing? I know it's partly you're saying you're at the 6-figure level and you're ready to scale to 7-figure, but are there also things inside of a business owner that might point to, I really need some help with this?
Yeah, definitely. It's a great question. Because building, like having, I find that in order for you to scale your marketing, you have to have strategy, you have to have systems, and you have to have some support. And so having someone to help you with the details is so important. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times as business owners, like, we think about like if Instagram is one of your biggest channels, right? Like say you're posting on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. Instagram has changed their algorithm at least 50 times in the last like 2 weeks, right? Like they're doing all these changes, they're doing all these experiments, they're trying all this stuff. And so as a business owner, I have so many other things to worry about. I have to worry about HR, I have to worry about finance, I have to worry about marketing on a high level and all these other things. I think that marketing is one of those things in your business that you will always have to do. Whether you're using sales calls as your sales mechanism, whether you're using webinars to convert people to join your programs or to sell your products or services, you're always going to need to find a way to get people to see it. Like you need to have a way to get people into the webinar, to get people to sign up for your lead magnet, or to come and follow you and do all the things, right? And each of these different channels requires a different strategy. And so, a different tactics. Each different tactic, I guess I should say, requires a different strategy. And so signals that you would be looking for as a CEO about whether you need to hire out marketing is, one, are you the bottleneck in your marketing? Like, let's take a look there. Like, I am the bottleneck in my marketing. Let me tell you transparently. I literally had a Voxer call with my assistant yesterday to let her know that she can now start writing captions for me for social. And so she went and because I was like, I know that I'm holding you up. I recorded literally like 20 videos and they are just sitting in my Google Drive. They are edited, they are ready to go, but they were waiting for, I had her waiting on captions and stuff for me. And so yesterday I realized, I was like, I cannot do this. Like, I have so many other things I have to be focused on right now. I cannot write captions. And so she was like, okay, she set up this thing in Airtable where she's like, okay, well, here I got, she got some prompts that we could use that'll help her to write some things. She has the video content there so she can watch the video and pull out a caption and figure out how to make it say, make it cool and stuff like that and make it resonate. But then she can also do the research on the reels and how to, what trending audio is happening. And, so details matter. All the execution stuff matters, right? Like, we want to make sure that, we're not the bottleneck in our marketing, meaning like we're not holding up stuff from going out because we're holding on too tight. And so if you're holding on too tight because you don't have anybody to release it to, then yeah, I understand. I get that. Like, there was definitely a time in my business where I didn't have an assistant, but I had to realize that like I was willing to pay to have a virtual assistant to help me to take off some of this stuff because I know marketing always has to happen. I know I'm the bottleneck in keeping things from going out. And I know that in order for me to get to the next level, as my business grows, I am going to be busier, right? Like, my client load is going to increase. The amount of workshops I'm doing has started to increase. The, events we're doing is increased. And so I don't have time for all the details and all the nitty-gritty stuff these days. I don't have time to create reels. I mean, like, I can film the content, yes, but I'm like, I need you to, add the transitions and add the captions and all the text and all that kind of stuff. So really, those are some of the signals. It's like, are you keeping your business stuck because you cannot get out any marketing things? And whether that's emails that go out, same thing for me. Like, I will batch write a bunch of emails and I will send them to Nicole. Like, me trying to get these actually to go out are not gonna work because I will try to I'm very much understand what I'm really good at. I'm really good at being able to create the content and be able to make things digestible for people. But I'm not good at getting all the stuff out. So that's really where I would say is figuring out, like, knowing that marketing always has to happen. Are you holding it up? And if you are, how can you not hold it up? By hiring some help.
Yeah, that's great. What I'm hearing is marketing always has to happen. So you must have a marketing budget. And maybe in the beginning, your budget is your hours. Mm-hmm. But as your business grows, your hours are going to become way more valuable than the money you would spend on the marketing budget.
Yeah.
So yes. I think that was a big light for me. This one day, a coach just asked, what's your marketing budget? Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? Marketing budget? I don't know. And so as a business owner, it's really thinking about that. And it brings me to, have you ever read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks?
Yes, I did. I read that this year.
Oh, such a good book. It's one of my, you must read this, first stop, read this book. But he tells that story in there about him trying to fix his own printer because he wanted to save whatever, like $100. But then when he really stepped back and realized how much is his hour worth in his business, then all of a sudden you go, oh, I'm kind of really silly for not hiring someone to fix my printer. And it can be the same marketing as I'm hearing you speak about that. Okay, awesome. So you have a gift for everybody. Would you like to tell us about it?
Yeah, I would love to tell you about it. So I put together a $1 Million Marketing series, and it's a video series that you can watch. And the reason I put it together is because I come across so many business owners that want to jump into Facebook ads, but they don't actually have a marketing strategy. And they're just like, they're like, oh, well, I have a webinar that I want to sell out, or, oh, I'm going through a launch. This is like, service provider land. Like, oh, I have a launch coming up and I want to run Facebook ads for it. I'm like, okay, well, what is the marketing strategy here? What's the marketing strategy for your launch? And I was like, oh, well, we're just going to, send some emails out and then we're going to post on social. That's not a strategy. That's not the strategy is more so, what is the messaging that we are going to convey on each of our different channels? What is the funnel that we're going to send people through? what are we going to do to get more eyeballs on this content? A lot of times people jump to Facebook ads, but Facebook ads are a amplification strategy. And so when the $1 Million Marketing Series walks you through my framework, which is you have to have magnetic messaging to pull people into your world, to get people want to be a part of your community and to want to consume your information. You have to have a clear customer journey that you can send people through, because you have to build know, like, and trust. People will not buy from you unless they know you, they like you, and they trust you. And so your customer journey's job is to facilitate that know, like, and trust. Is like, what pieces of information can you share with people to help them to get to know you, to help them to like you more, to help them to trust you? And then how can you then use amplification tactics to get them to the next level? And so for me, and part of amplification, like, organic marketing is the foundation. Like, there is no skipping organic marketing. There is no saying if we're running Facebook ads, we do no organic marketing. No, the ceiling, the foundation is organic. But then when you're trying to get to the next level, that's when we introduce paid. That's when we introduce our Facebook ads. And so I created this series because I get questions about, how do I know when I'm ready for my business to start Facebook ads? How do I know, what pieces I need to have together? What goes into a Facebook ad strategy? These are questions I get all the time. And so I put together that series to really give people an overview of what messaging is, what customer journeys are, what amplification strategies you should be using, and how you can think about it as a CEO. Because a lot of times as the CEO, we are also the CMO, right? Like, we're also leading the strategy. And so a lot of times we were talking earlier, business owners will hire people to do their marketing. And again, it's amazing to have executors, but somebody has to be leading the strategy. You want to have your marketing team be able to take your marketing to the next level. You need to give them messages that work, right? Say, like, when I talk to my clients about XYZ messages, that brings them in the door. So then your social media team can go and create reels about these things. They can go and do, videos and go live and do all the stuff, right? But they need a message to anchor into. And a lot of times, or they more so need a strategy to anchor into. And a lot of times CEOs don't have that strategy. And so if you're looking to really figure out, like, how do I take my business really to the next level? Because you can really kind of piece your way together to 6 figures. You can even probably piece your way to 7 figures, to be honest, depending on your business model. But when you're trying to level up and you're trying to get to the next level, it's going to require data. It's going to require strategy. It's going to require us to be very calculated in the things that we're doing. It does not require doing all the things, right? Like, it does not require us saying we're on TikTok, Pinterest, Twitter, and, LinkedIn, and we do podcast interviews. Like, you don't have to do all the things, but you do need to have a strategy that lays out what those things are. So that way you can look at the data points and say, like, hey, like, my conversion rate on my landing page is 20%. How do I get that to 50%? How do I get, people who watch my webinar to then book a sales call with me? If currently it's at 10%, can I change my call to action in my webinar to make it 30%? So these kinds of things need to be mapped out, because when you map it out, then you can measure it, then you can take it to the next level.
I am excited to go through that series. I'm going to sign up for it right now and do it. So we put it in the show notes for everybody. Go grab it. And I have one last question for you, then we'll close it up and tell people where they can find you. So something you just said is really interesting to me, because I do have a lot of listeners who are just starting out on their entrepreneurial journey. And what I'm hearing, and I want to know if you think this is correct, is if you're just launching your business, you're just starting out, your goal in your marketing right now is to fine tune your messaging and do it like yourself and organically, so that when you're ready to hire a company like you can actually come to the company and go, here's my messaging. This is what I've done so far. Take me to the next level. So that's a place that people could focus. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would definitely say focus on figuring out what are the messages that resonate with people, that bring people that bring your best customers in. Especially when you're just starting out, because when you're just starting out, you're going to start to attract people who can't afford your prices, who are trying to get you. You're going to attract that at all levels probably, but when you're starting out, you kind of, it sucks because you're like, I charge this, but I'm only getting a few leads, and my few leads are asking me for, half price. And so it kind of messes with your mind a little bit. But if you start to figure out, like, who are my best customers that don't argue me on price, that don't, drive me nuts, because that's another thing, you get clients that drive you nuts. Where did they come from? What did they have to go through to get to me? Is it, even if it is a referral, right? Like, where did that referral come from? Like, for me, if the referral comes from, someone who does brand marketing, I'm going to use that data point to go out and find more people who are brand marketers that I can actually get my message in front of so that they can refer me people. So it's really about like when you're just starting out, like testing different messages. I like to tell people to have like 3 messages that you're testing. Don't try to test 10 because then you won't know what works. But if you have 3 messages that you take like a few weeks and just really hit home on these 1 or 2 messages at a time, you'll start to see like, what are people engaging with? What are people responding to? What language are they using? And then you also want to make sure that you're testing your funnel. Because again, attracting people to your world is not enough. You have to then get them to sign up for something or to give you their email list or to get off of these social platforms that we do not own and into a world that you actually own. And how do you facilitate that know, like, and trust? And so I would focus there, focus on messaging and focus on fine tuning that funnel. Because once you can say like, hey, I have a funnel that actually converts and that actually does lead to sales calls or that does lead to, people signing up for my course or my programs, then you can say, okay, well, how do I then get this in front of more people? That's when you bring amplification in, right? Like currently where you're at, like use the audience that you have, to figure out like to test messaging and to test, customer journeys, try to get in front of more people organically, try to build your email list, all that kind of stuff. But then once you can actually have a clear line of something that works, that's when you want to bring ads into the mix. That's when you want to say like, hey, like now, my conversion rate is 50% when I get 100 people through here. What does it do when I get it to 200 people to come through here? What happens when I get 1,000 people to come through and watch this webinar? Like, what does that do to my numbers? And you'll really start to be able to make data-driven decisions. And I know that, a lot of times we don't want to take those steps. We want to jump right to like, just blast it out there in front of everybody and just get those Facebook ads in front of people. But I promise you, if you take the time to go through the framework and to really like set your business up in such a way that when you turn on your ads, they will light your business on fire because they're an amplifier. It's like I like to use the analogy of they're like gasoline, right? Like if you're pouring gas onto the ground, then you're just wetting the floor. But if there's something burning there, then the fire is going to get bigger, right? So you need to have something that's working in your business before you want to amplify with any kind of paid advertising. So take the time to figure out what that stuff is and to get something that works organically, and then you want to light it on fire.
Oh, it's so good. So I could listen to you for a really long time, and I'm sure other people are feeling the same way. Where can we connect more? Where do you want people to go if they want more of your wisdom?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to roadmap to1million.com. And that is the number 1 in that. And so that is where you can find all my social channels. That's where you can find my the $1 Million Marketing Series. I have a private podcast in there if you want to listen to that and learn more about how to leverage Facebook ads in your business as the CEO. So yeah, that's where you can find me. And I'm on Instagram, on Facebook, all the places, on LinkedIn, at stacyzeal.co, on all the places. So that's me.
Oh, we'll put it in the show notes. So give us last parting words and then we'll close up.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome. I love talking marketing, especially with people who I feel are called to bigger things like, like your audiences is. And I will say like final thoughts is just that marketing is something that it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very simple, right? It can be very, very simple, but a lot of times it gets complicated because we don't have something that's like structured and written down and actually like can say like, this is our marketing strategy. And then we can actually figure out like what campaigns are we going to do to make this come to life? What are the things that we're going to try? But I would just say like, try to keep it as simple as possible. Look at your data, learn what, you have so much data, Google Analytics, your Facebook pixel, your insights on Instagram, so much data is out there around your business. Try to figure out like, how do you make data-driven decisions and just start looking at it and then make decisions from there.
So good. I appreciate you so much. And I am really excited for everybody who gets to listen to this episode. If something resonated with you, or maybe you thought of someone that needs to listen to this episode, please hit the share button, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, take a screenshot. You can tag both of us on Instagram. I'm Jasmine and Juniper Living. And Stacy, I have your Instagram here. You're stacyzeal.co on Instagram. We'd love to connect with you. And we just want to get the word out because remember, if you have a vision inside of your heart, if there's a business that feels like a soul calling, you're going to need a marketing budget. And so start learning this stuff now. And then one day you're going to be able to hire Stacy. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, y'all.